Hi, welcome back to Joe Blogs. If you've been following the channel, you'll know that I've recently had a bereavement. My grandmother died at the age of 95, and obviously that's a good age, but it's still quite sad. And at that time, I was thinking about writing her eulogy, talking about her life in a short speech. And when you're doing a eulogy, you have to think about all of the things that that person achieved. And it made me start thinking about what I've achieved in my life. What would my eulogy say? And obviously, I'm not going to hear my eulogy. I'm not going to write my own. I think that would be a little bit weird. But it does make you think about what you've done so far in your life and what you've got left to do. What's on your bucket list? What would you like to do if you had all of the time and money and energy to be able to achieve it? And the purpose of today's video is really to act as a wake-up call to remind you that this is your life. You're living your life for you, so you should be doing things that you want to achieve, because I think it's too easy for all of us, firstly, to put other people first, to think, well, I'd rather they had it, I'd rather they had a good time, I'm saving up so I can give some money to them, or something like that, rather than thinking about yourself. And also, you need to start thinking about how long you've got left, because you put things off to the future. People are constantly saying to me, oh, at some point, down the road, when I can get this, when I've saved up enough money, when I can do that. And I think if you look back at your life, I don't know how old you are, obviously, but in your 20s, you're running around trying to get your career started, get some money together. Maybe you've met your partner, maybe you're starting a family. In your 30s, for a lot of us, we had families, and so it's just a crazy, chaotic time. Everything's about children and schools and running around doing things. And an element of that also in your 40s. Then in your 50s, maybe you've got grown-up children, maybe they're going off to study and things like that, but you're still focused on them. And there comes a point when you have to think, well, what about me? When am I going to start living my life? Because you don't want to wake up one day and find out that it's too late, you've missed your chance, and you can't do all of the things that you wanted to do. So in today's video, I'm going to give you 5 pieces of advice that I think will help enrich your life. Make sure that you're maximizing your opportunity, because we're only here once. You only get one go at this. So make sure it's a good one, and to make sure that you're happy, because happiness passes on to other people. If you're happy and fulfilled, then you can pass that on to all of your friends and family. So let's get started. So the first piece of advice I'm going to give you is probably something that nobody has ever said to you before. I want you to put yourself first. And that's probably counterintuitive to a lot of us, because we're constantly doing things for other people rather than doing it for ourselves. You're constantly thinking, well, I'm not too bothered, I'm okay, I want everybody else to be happy. But unfortunately, you don't get that long on this planet, and you need to make sure that you're happy. And I know some people gain happiness from other people being happy and fulfilled, but ultimately you need to make sure that you've had a good go as well. So I want you to sit down and start putting yourself first. Think about what you want to do, what you enjoy, what makes you happy. Other than making other people happy and having family time, what would you like to do? What would you like to achieve? And think about whether or not you've achieved those things, or whether there's still things on your list that you'd like to have a go at. So the first thing that you need to do in terms of enriching your life is to put yourself first. Now, the second piece of advice really follows on from the first. It's talking about dreams. What are your dreams? What would you like to achieve in your life? Now, dreams change as you get older. When you're younger, maybe you had dreams of being a footballer or an actor or a famous scientist or something along that road, something that you could achieve once you'd grown up. And then when you get to be grown up, maybe you didn't get to do that because circumstances didn't allow it, or you weren't very good at football, or whatever it might have been. You needed money, so you had to get a job, and one thing leads to another, and next thing you wake up and it's 25 or 30 years later and you've missed your chance. But dreams move with the times. Dreams can change. As you get older, your dreams could become something different. So maybe you can't be a footballer, but you could be something else. And as a good example of this, you're watching me right now. I'm on YouTube. I'm a YouTuber. I'm a creator. Now, I didn't start this until quite late in my life. It wasn't something that I had as an aspiration when I was younger, because YouTube didn't exist then. Obviously, social media is a relatively recent phenomenon. But as I watched more and more YouTube myself, I started thinking, is this something that I could do? And of course, the self-doubt kicks in and you say, well, of course not. It's somebody else. Maybe if it had been around when I was in my 20s, I could have been a YouTuber, but I've really missed the boat. And then I woke up one day and thought, hang on, why not? Why can't I do it? Because I could see a lot of people like me on YouTube that were talking about things that I knew that I could talk about. So I started to have a go at it. And it was tricky and it's a bit challenging and it's very easy to abandon your dream and think, actually, this isn't for me, I can't do it. And you don't want to fail because the fear of failure, I think, stops us from doing so many things. But actually, does it matter if you don't achieve it? Does it matter if you fail? It doesn't really, unless it's something life-changing that you're trying to achieve, like jumping off a cliff without a parachute, which I wouldn't recommend. Then I would encourage you to give it a go. Think about what your dreams are right now. What would you like to do? What do you do a lot of? What do you look up to? What do you have aspirations to become? Because we can all live out our dreams. But one thing's for sure, you won't achieve your dream if you don't try. If you don't have a go, then you definitely will never get there. So follow my lead. Think about something that you'd like to do. Work out how you're going to do it. Put together a plan and then start on that journey. Now, it might be that after a couple of goes or after a few days or a few months or whatever it might be, you decide it isn't for you. You've decided that the dream isn't quite what you wanted it to be. The reality isn't the same as what you thought, but at least you've had a go and you can cross that off your list. So the second piece of advice that I'm giving you is work out what your dreams are right now from where you're sitting today and then give it a try. Have a go because if you don't try, you never know. Okay, the third piece of advice really follows on from the last piece. Try something new, do something different, because I think it's far too easy, particularly as we get older, to fall into a rut. You do the same thing every day, every week, every month, every year, and it just becomes really boring and formulaic, and it isn't something that is going to give you fulfillment and happiness. So start changing things up. Do something different. Do something new. So maybe you've been thinking about doing some exercise. Maybe it's just going for a walk, going out and getting some fresh air. Maybe it's going for a run. Maybe it's joining a class at a gym or meeting up with some people in the park or climbing a mountain or going for a swim or something like that. Or maybe it's something that isn't physical. Maybe it's trying a new challenge. Maybe taking a quiz, joining a team, joining some sort of club, going out and meeting people, doing something different, or something that I haven't even thought of, something entirely different that you've been thinking about doing but have been putting off because you think, I don't have time to do that. I'm just far too busy because your routine is all set and you can't change it. Well, I'm telling you to change the way you start thinking. Think about that new thing and put it in the diary first. Say, okay, I'm going to do that on Monday or Wednesday or Saturday, whatever it might be, and then work your schedule around it. Maybe you'll need to get up a bit earlier, change the way you do things. And doing something new will invigorate your life. It will change your whole perspective because, firstly, you're challenging yourself with doing something different. You've got something new to think about, something new to talk about. You might meet some new people, make some new friends, and it will just change your whole motivation. When you get up in the morning on that day, you'll be thinking, oh, I'm doing that today. Great, I need to focus on what I'm doing, get ready, get prepared. And then afterwards you can think, I really enjoyed that. How can I do it better? When am I going to do it again? So try something new because it will change your life. Don't just carry on doing what you're doing every day for the rest of your life. Don't go and do the same things at the same time, in the same places, because that is really boring. Change it up a little bit and see how you feel, and you will be surprised how it will give you new motivation, new happiness, and new fulfillment. The fourth piece of advice is to spend more time with people that you enjoy and that you love. Now, that might be your family or your friends or your pets or people that you know from down the road, or it doesn't really matter who it is. But changing your routine and spending more time with those people is really quite important because that's something that's really fulfilling. If you enjoy just hanging out with your family, you don't have to do anything completely life-changing. It might just be going around having a cup of tea or coffee, having some lunch, watching TV, just sitting around doing nothing. It doesn't really matter. But if that's something that really makes you happy, you need to try and do more of it. And the way you can do that is by making more time in your week. And how you do that is by putting that first in your diary. So if you think, right, I don't really have much time this week, maybe I can only fit in one session with my family, make it 2 or 3. So sit down and work out whether you can do it on Monday, Wednesday and Saturday or whatever days it might be, and then change your schedule to fit that. And then obviously tell those people what you're planning. Don't just turn up and expect them to be in because they might all have gone away somewhere. So work out what makes you happy, who you like spending time with, and also if there's people that you don't like spending time with, that are a drain on your energy, that are causing you to have negative feelings and feel unhappy, and maybe they're bringing you down, then spend less time with those people, because that is the opposite of spending time with people that you love. If somebody is draining all of the fun out of your life, then you need to reassess whether or not you want to spend more time with those people, and maybe just reduce the amount of time with them and increase it with the people that you like. But making time to spend with family and friends and people that you love is really important, because ultimately that will make you happy and more fulfilled. Okay, the final piece of advice I'm going to give you is to take the weight off your shoulders. Is there something lurking at the back of your mind that you've been meaning to do, an issue that you need to address, the elephant in the room, so to speak, something that you've been putting off? Maybe it's just for a few days, maybe it's a few weeks, maybe it's a few months, maybe it's a few years or decades. Something that you've been thinking, I really should have that conversation. I need to address that issue because it's always there. I'm always thinking about it. And until I've discussed it and got it out onto the table, I can't really feel happy and fulfilled. It's always lurking at the back of my mind, bringing me down. Well, you need to address that elephant in the room at some point before it's too late. So whether this is making a call or going to see somebody, or maybe just talking to somebody else, somebody independent, about something that happened to you, something that really is still causing you concern, that horrible feeling in your stomach when you think, oh, I really just want to block that out. I don't want to talk about it. But talking about things is really important. You've seen on the TV, you maybe know friends who go to therapy. Therapy is a really big thing. And the reason it's a big thing isn't because people wanted to earn lots of money from it. It's because it's really helpful. It's really good to talk things out, to actually get it out onto the table, talk about your feelings, talk about why you feel anxious or hurt or unhappy or depressed or whatever it might be. You need to talk about that, because by doing so, you start to realize what it is that's affecting you, why those issues are causing you problems, and hopefully you can come to some sort of reconciliation, get to the point where you think, actually, now that I've spoken about it, now that I've talked about that issue, now that I've raised it, I do feel a lot better. That is a weight off my shoulders. And overall, I'm feeling happier. I've addressed it. It might still be an issue for you, but at least you've talked about it, you've gone through it, and now you're at some sort of peace with it. But it's really important to do that, because if you're just carrying that for the whole of your life, there'll come a point when it's too late to actually talk about it, discuss it, and be able to reconcile with it. And that's just going to eat you up and make you unhappy. So getting things off your shoulders, talking about things, raising things that have been on your mind for a long period of time are really important. Do it in a measured and calculated way. Don't get really angry about it and fly off the handle and cause more trouble. Ideally, what you should do is approach it in a measured manner. Maybe write things down before you actually vocalize it with somebody else. And then you can make sure that your point comes across correctly, exactly what you're thinking. But getting things off your shoulders is a really important thing to do in order to increase your happiness and your fulfillment and overall enrich your life. So hopefully you found today's video useful, informative, and maybe a bit thought-provoking. The idea really is to try to make things better, try to improve your life just a little bit. So maybe it's just one piece of advice from today's video that will stick with you, and hopefully you'll change things, do things a little bit differently, make yourself a little bit happier, a little bit more fulfilled, and think about that eulogy. When it comes to the end of your life, what are people going to say about you? What did you achieve? What did you do? Have you done everything that you wanted to? Hopefully this video has put you on the road to achieving a little bit more. So thanks for watching this video all the way through to the end, and here's something to put a smile on your face.